Welcome back, everyone. Toy Shiz here, and we are back yet again for another Neca Toys Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles video, the Mirage comic series. This one is going to be a fun episode. This is wild. It's not surprising that Neca Toys would make this particular box set, but it's also wild to me that in 2025 we are getting this particular box set, which is entitled The Shredder, Worms of Madness. And of course, the box set features Shredder and Oroku Saki. It's basically the same character, the same figure, but the one caveat to everything, though, is that while this set is called The Worms of Madness, it's really the Return to New York Volume 3, as I just said. Later on, though, we did get a story entitled The Worms of Madness, which is the sequel to everything that we're going to be talking about here today. Yes, there will be worms aplenty, even though you only get one in the box, which methinks this is the one that Leonardo pulls off his sword and flushes down the sink. But you do get really cool artwork by Kevin Eastman. It adorns the box. On the backside, you get nice photos, and then you get to see all the other characters that we've all had for months. It's just taken me a while to find this in stores. If you are looking, I'll put links down in the description below for places like Walmart. Here's everyone involved with the creation of this 2-pack, so thank you very much for that. Here's the barcode. Like I said, they're hitting Walmarts. They're shipping out from Walmarts. You should have no problem finding this soon enough if you are looking. Now, do bear with me and keep an open mind as I'm about to tell you exactly what transpired in the 3rd issue of Return to New York from the Mirage Comics TMNT line. The Shredder, Oroku Saki, did in fact die in the very first issue of TMNT. He exploded real good due to a thermite grenade. Well, we finally understand how he was able to return because the Foot Clan, with their foot mystics and their foot experimentation, got together and took Oroku Saki's remains and fed them to mystic worms, space worms, science fiction-y type worms, and as they munched on his dead material, they mutated and formed a colony of worms which basically came out looking like a clone of Oroku Saki. That's why his skin is a little messed up, but it retains all the memories, all of the rage that he had for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and of course he wants his revenge, and revenge he takes when he beats the ever-loving heck out of Leonardo, and they go to the family farm for over a year. Now, with the Return to New York, they go up against the 3 experimental clones. That's where you get these guys right here, and those were the initial test subjects, which led to Oroku Saki being the successful 4th. At the end of this issue, in the final battle, Leonardo takes on the Shredder, and it's a pretty heavy battle. It's pretty awesome back in the day with all that black and white graphic artwork. But lo and behold, Leonardo is triumphant, and he thoroughly slices the Shredder's head off in this gorgeous 2-page spread. Leonardo takes Oroku Saki's body, and together with his brothers, they burn the remains, and thus ends the saga of the Shredder for a 2nd time. However, 3rd time's a charm, and I'm sure in some sense, because Neca Toys never lets me down, we'll be talking about this Worms of Madness story one last time. And if you thought this story was crazy, it gets even more wackadoo. But we have some action figures to talk about. So sit back, relax, grab yourself a nice hot cup of coffee. This is a look at the brand new Neca Toys from their Mirage Comics TMNT line, the Shredder Worms of Madness 2-pack. Here we go. All right, so now here's everything taken out of the packaging, and I will tell you this. Me being such a fan of the Mirage Comics TMNT, with what Neca Toys is doing in general, I appreciate this, I really enjoy it, but then even I could take a step back and go, man, I wish there was a little bit more in the box. Maybe a severed Oroku Saki head, even though Nickelodeon seems to be frowning on that recently, especially with the unmentionables, with the guns and everything else. There is, of course, a ton of hands. Hands, for me, can go either way. Now, it's fun when you have 2 ninjutsu-type characters. Yeah, that totally works. And I like that they differentiate between the Oroku Saki, the clone version with his skin, so at least the hands are different across the board. You do get a rather large bladed weapon. You can use this with either of the figures. It has nice paint. It's got a little bit of red with the wrapping and everything else. It's fine for what it is. But the worm, now that's a special thing right there. Don't lose this. This is the most tiny of tiny accessories right here. It's a lot of fun, and it's funny that they threw this in there. And like I already said, a severed head, maybe you see all the worms kind of dragging out like they did with the Shredder clones. With the missing arms, they have a little bit of a wormy presence to them. With the Shredder. Now, this is cool, and I think a lot of people are going to appreciate that if you missed the original NECA Toys Mirage Shredder. This is, of course, 2.0. This is the clone. He's a lot beefier, bulkier. I think he's a lot of what people think about with the Shredder in general. So yes, for that alone, this would be a fine Shredder to have. I love the mask, I love the eyes, and the colors are in the red, the more classic style before they did those weird color classics. So yeah, for me across the board, that totally works. The weird thing about these sculpts, and this is on both the Rokusaki and Shredder, is that they have these weird butts to them. And when you move the legs, the butts really stick out. Like, he's really shaking it. So when you have the legs down in a normal standing position, you'll never be the wiser. But when you want to pose him out, like I just did, yeah, his butt is going to be a flapping around. That's just an odd miss. NECA Toys is usually really good, but that's like a real, like, that's a choice. So that would be my only major gripe with everything in general for the figure. Other than that, you have his gauntlets and his spikes, and usually everything is kind of very rigid. They've kind of taken a softer approach, except for, let's say, the points on his helmet and whatnot. So I would say overall, just be careful as usual. I like the articulation that you get out of his ab crunch. It's very functional this time around. But if there is a waist, mine doesn't seem to be wanting to move. I think it's just the upper diaphragm. Then you have the bicep, the double joints, the knees, everything else. The peg holes on the bottom. With the exception of the weird butt flaps, this is a very cool looking Shredder 2.0. And then you have a Rokusaki, which, if you hadn't guessed it, both of these figures are the exact same. It's just swapping parts and pieces and yada yada. So same exact articulation across the board, same exact weird butt flappage. But this one, because he tears off the uniform of the Shredder to face Leonardo, that encapsulates this character. So I totally dig it for that. And then you have all the black line work to make it look like the comic book. The articulation, like I said, works with all the weaponry. Now you get two bladed weapons to go up against Leonardo. So you can definitely double wield those with the hands provided. The wrappings, the colors, the blank white eyes, the portrait of a Rokusaki is really well done. I think that looks amazing. So if you're really in the market for a great NECA Toys Mirage Comics Shredder, then this 2-pack will definitely be for you. But I think that for the most part, for a lot of collectors out there, this may be the harder sell. I have found over time in doing these Mirage Comics videos, people really have no clue what I'm talking about. A very small group of you do, and I appreciate the conversations, don't get me wrong. But I believe that a lot of people grew up with just the cartoon and the Playmates toys, and that was sort of it. The Mirage Comics line, even though that is what started TMNT in general, has always been kind of over here. The storylines are weird, they're bizarre, but they mean a lot to me. And truth be told, I wasn't a fan of them until I was much older, where I could actually understand it. But if you read the comics, if you get to know these action figures, they are really great. NECA Toys has done their homework, and to see this new 2.0 Rokusaki Shredder mixed in with the 3 Shredder clones, all the colors line up, all the armor, it's just special. These are so much fun, but it is that much more fun if you know what the holy heck you are actually looking at. In looking at the original Mirage Comics NECA Toys Shredder, he is much smaller. That's how he was drawn. But this new 2.0 Shredder, yes, he's a more muscular build, and I think that's where a lot of people are going to go, yeah, that's Shredder to me. If you were wondering if you could swap the heads and have a Rokusaki holding the Shredder helmet, yes, you most definitely can do that as well. But in kind of going back to the Mirage Comics idea with City at War and everything else, to have Leonardo, the colors and everything vibrant, popping with this Shredder and a Rokusaki, this is so cool. And as I always say, I cannot wait to see where NECA Toys takes the Mirage Comics line next. So that's going to wrap it up for my look at the brand new NECA Toys, the Shredder Worms of Madness 2-pack featuring the Shredder and a Rokusaki. Like I said, for me, being a huge fan, if you know what you are looking at here, this is a no-brainer set. But These things are getting a little bit more expensive these days, and I can understand that a lot of people in looking at this go, well, I want Shredder, but I really have no attachment to this. I have no idea what this storyline is, so maybe wait for a sale. But for those of you who know exactly what I'm talking about, this is definitely the box set for you. So, you've heard my thoughts, and now I'm curious to know yours. Comment below, let me know. Let's talk everything Mirage Comics. And until the next one, I will leave you guys with that. Adios. Oh, hey, you're still here. Well, as a special bonus for sticking around, I'm going to put a link down in the description below where you can learn more about the idea and the experiment that Kevin Eastman instituted to develop the worm shredder. It's a fascinating 1960s experiment by James V. McConnell. It involves feeding trained flatworms to other flatworms, and it's a whole thing about memory, and it gets kind of weird. But hey, without it, we would have never had this crazy notion of a worm shredder. Definitely check it out, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Adios.